Good afternoon, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch of Crime Talk. Today we're going to talk about Chris Watts. His house is up for sale. Jayme was found safely in Wisconsin. And Patrick Frazee has himself a new attorney. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk. We started this channel so that someone like myself, who has experience as a criminal defense attorney for some 25 years, to provide some insight and present the facts and present both sides of a case to the audience out there so that we can provide some information that you're not going to get basically on your evening news, or that's at least our hope to do so. So if you like our channel and you like the content, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video and leave us a comment of what you would like to see. I do go through those comments and I appreciate them very, very much. Even the haters, I still like you, okay? I appreciate it. We try to get better based upon constructive criticism. Remember that. So today, first case I want to talk about, obviously, Chris Watts' case. That's the big one that's been here in Colorado for a while. It's all but over, okay? He's in prison. He's out of state. He is going nowhere, okay? But what's going on? His house is up for auction. His house is in foreclosure because obviously no one can afford to pay the mortgage on it, and the family let it go into foreclosure. The Watts purchased this house for some $392,000, and there's $349,938 remaining owed on that mortgage. So when it's in foreclosure, the winning bid could be $349,938.01 to be the winning bid. The question that I think is somewhat interesting is, will the bank let this house go given what took place in the house? As you know, maybe some of you don't know, Christopher Watts pled guilty to killing his pregnant wife and his two young daughters, and then ultimately disposing of the family basically like they were human debris at his work site that he had to go to earlier in that morning, putting his daughters in oil tank batteries and his wife in a shallow grave just to the north of that. So will the bank let it go for less just to be out of it? Will somebody buy it and want to knock it down? Or will it go for a premium since such a horrific case took place in that house? Some people get off on that memorabilia kind of stuff, and maybe they want this as the house that Chris Watts lived in. So we'll let you know how that turns out, and we'll be watching that as the case actually goes to foreclosure, and bidding will be due on first part of April. So the Watts house will be in foreclosure at a public auction in April. We'll let you know how that goes. Now, a very bizarre case, and I've handled a case similar to this. It was not a murder kidnapping, but it was a basically kidnapping, sexual assault, and it was very bad. And the thing that is striking about this is the Jayme case, all right? And a Wisconsin man was arrested and had his first appearance in court today for basically kidnapping Jayme, who was 13, after he had murdered her parents. And apparently, according to the police affidavit, is that this individual by the name of Jake Patterson, who is 21, who looks a little older than 21. He's got I guess he shaved his head so he didn't leave any hair evidence around or DNA. But he's got a pretty dominant receding hairline at 21. And just kind of probably gives a lot of people the creepy feeling. He looks like the guy that should be maybe working at, Chuck E. Cheese or something like that. And I don't know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. He just has that weird look about him. Sometimes there's people that you just don't get a warm, fuzzy feeling from. That's Jake Patterson. So anyway, Jake Patterson sees Jayme Closs getting off a school bus and decides basically, I'm going to take her, okay? How creepy and scary is that? He basically says, I pick you. He apparently buys a mask, shaves his hair, like we mentioned a second ago, so that he doesn't leave any DNA evidence, and ultimately goes to the house. Dad answers the door. He shoots through the door. This Jake Patterson shoots through the door, killing Jayme Closs's father. The mother and Jayme Closs hide in the bathroom. He then shoots Jayme Closs's mother after she is forced to make her put duct tape over Jayme Closs's mouth. This Jake Patterson then takes her, kidnaps her, puts her at his house, okay? And, you know, there haven't been a whole lot of issues as it relates to whether there was a sexual abuse or anything of that nature, but one would suspect, and I hope that that didn't take place, but let's be realistic. I think that that is a huge possibility. This guy doesn't look like, you know, he could probably get a date, and so he has to go around kidnapping and killing people to get that. How weird is that? This is like 2019. Even this guy could get a Tinder account, right? Even this guy could find somebody, but you have to go out and kill people and kidnap them. It's crazy. He basically traps her under his bed for hours when he left the house. He had visitors that are at the house, and he used plastic boxes and barbells to make it hard for her to get out of the house, according to the police. And he threatened violence if she did ultimately try to escape. And escape is what she did. She ultimately did get out of the house. She finds a woman walking her dog, and they go to another neighbor's house, and that neighbor calls the police. And this gentleman by the name of Peter retrieves his gun and stood watch outside the door, making sure no one was there until the police arrived. Now, this Jake Patterson showed up in court today, and he's charged with multiple counts of murder, and he's also charged with the kidnapping. It's uncertain whether they're going to charge other charges as well. They probably need to let Miss Closs get back to reality. I mean, can you imagine being kidnapped like that? So obviously, the family of Miss Closs wants the most extreme punishment available is what they are asking for, and they want the district attorney to pursue that. Now, whether this case goes to trial or whether it will be a plea, we will wait and see. Clearly, his defense attorneys are going to dig up anything that they can for mitigation purposes. Why? If I was his attorney, I'd probably be having him shrunk right now by a psychiatrist to see if what makes this guy tick and why would he suddenly go out and think it's okay to kidnap somebody to keep as your pet. This is crazy. And then in the meantime, kill two people. Obviously, it's premeditated. Obviously, this gentleman knew what he was doing based upon what we know from the police affidavit, as well as his own statement that was made in the police affidavit. It's going to be an interesting trial. I wish all the best to Miss Closs. I also, good luck to his attorneys, Mr. Patterson's attorneys, because they're going to need it. Obviously, everyone is entitled to a defense. And, it's funny. There's some people that think that no one should ever get a defense. And sometimes, as I have said on this show, I've been hired by many, many people over the years who have come to me and said, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to hire you. I can't believe I have to hire a guy like you. Well, remember, you're the one hiring me. Because whether they did it or someone they love, a family member, a grandchild, someone along those lines got into a case. Nobody expects trouble. Nobody expects trouble to come necessarily walking to them. A lot of people don't. A lot of people are good people. I've represented a lot of good people, only represented true evil a couple of times in my career, all right? Most of them are good people, make mistakes. They're entitled to the process to go through. They're entitled to that presumption of innocence. And so never, ever say never, people. Never, okay? Now, the other matter that we want to talk about is the Patrick Frazee matter. Mr. Frazee, who those viewers, listeners out there who do not know, Mr. Frazee is charged with the murder as well as charge of felony murder for killing his fiancée, Kelsey Berreth. And she was last seen right around Thanksgiving and hasn't been seen since. And it turns out that Mr. Frazee may have had another girlfriend who he may have asked to help either him or just simply do it themselves to kill Miss Berreth. And he, Mr. Frazee, was pretty quiet throughout this entire process, and lawyered up. Didn't do much of anything as far as talking, except through his attorney. He was ultimately charged 3 counts of solicitation and the 2 counts of first-degree murder. The question is, where's the body of Miss Berreth? Okay, so first, Mr. Frazee, the family, as we mentioned the other day, the parents of Kelsey Berreth have sued Mr. Frazee for wrongful death. And that case was filed in the United States District Court here in Denver, Colorado. Mr. Frazee has retained counsel on that case, so he will be filing an answer within his 21 days, which have been ticking since about last week. And from there, I'm assuming his attorneys will ask that the proceedings be stayed pending the outcome of the criminal case, which hasn't even started in the sense, it's started, but it hasn't really even got going yet. We're still set for a preliminary hearing, and hopefully that won't get continued when it does happen here February 18th. And the Frazee case got me thinking, okay? So I've mentioned this, that yes, you can proceed on a criminal case without a body, but it's difficult, okay? You need some pretty strong evidence to actually show that the person is dead, even if you can't necessarily find the body. Now, in the Frazee case, the district attorney has indicated that he does not want the affidavit for arrest warrant released, and the public defender agreed to that by basically saying, we promised to get a copy of the affidavit, but we're not going to let anybody else see it because the district attorney was worried for safety issues. Then, lo and behold, some lawyer that lives in Idaho says, we have an employee who has a friend who said that that friend is this Crystal Lee, who is a boyfriend of Mr. Frazee, and he asked her to kill Miss Berreth. Ultimate hearsay within hearsay, 2 levels deep, all right? That isn't going to be enough. So I started thinking to myself, I wonder if anyone's ever been convicted of murder and then the person showed up. Now, I'm not suggesting that Miss Berreth is alive. I don't know. The district attorney seems to think that she is gone. She hasn't shown up anywhere. So one tends to think that that's the case. She is deceased. So I did some research, and there was a case, and this goes back to 1872. And it was the case of William Jackson Marion and Jack Cameron. Apparently, these guys were buddies. They met at a boarding house in 1872, became fast friends, and they became traveling companions. And they used Mr. Cameron's team of horses to go from place to place and to find work. And at one point, they were apparently in Beatrice, Nebraska, to visit Marion's in-laws before moving on. After a few days, however, Marion returned solo, sporting clothes that belonged to Cameron and driving Cameron's horses. Then left town again. Weeks later, the people that lived there, the authorities, find the body of a man that was discovered, assuming it must not have been identifiable, with 3 bullet holes in his head, and he was also wearing the same outfit that Cameron had worn and had the same outfit, okay? Marion was immediately became the prime suspect, and a manhunt began. And after 10 years of searching, they ultimately find him, and he's captured and sent to Kansas or he's captured in Kansas, okay? So the trial goes on, and the conviction of Jack Marison was rather abbreviated, and Marion's verdict was read after just 1 hour of deliberation, and he was put to death for his crime. That was in March 25th of 1887. 4 years later, Jack Cameron reappeared looking for his old friend. Apparently, he had run to Mexico to avoid a shotgun wedding in Kansas, giving his horses and other possessions to Marion. Now he'd come back to reclaim them. Okay? Now, the positive note is that the family of Mr. Marion sought basically a pardon for their family member after many, many years because obviously he was innocent. And the then governor at the time did, in fact, possibly pardon Mr. Marion in 1987. So that's an interesting case. Okay, everybody thought Mr. Marion was the person that had committed the crime, and everyone in the town and the jury was obviously convinced, proof beyond a reasonable doubt, that Mr. Cameron was in fact dead. And turns out he wasn't. Okay, that is an example of why you ultimately want that body. Okay, not for some weird reason, but you have to actually prove it's one of the elements is that the person that they're saying you killed is deceased. Okay? That story in and of itself, in my opinion, unless you could overcome huge evidentiary issues, is an example of why Mr. Frazee has a really good shot at defending his case. All his defense has to say is she's not dead. Prove it. Where's the body? All right? Something to think about, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what we want you to do. I appreciate you tuning in today. If you like the channel, please hit subscribe. If you'd like to be notified of new video or when we're going to go live, hit that little bell so you get the notices that come to you. Leave a like, leave a comment. If you don't like it, leave a comment, but make it a constructive one. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and we look forward to talking to you on the next edition of Crime Talk.